Hey guys, this is Raptor8415 and welcome to my Let's Play of Might and Magic 6: The Mandate of Heaven. So before we start the game, there's actually something else I'd like to do first. Might and Magic 6 was made back in 1998. This was a magical time where games came with these big, thick manuals, and there was a lot of cool stuff in these manuals, like lore. Might and Magic 6 is no different. It comes with 11 pages of in-game letters and backstory, which is really cool. It sets up a lot of the plot going forward, and there's a lot of cool history and context that I'd like to share with all of you. Plus, it gives me a chance to put my amateur voice acting skills to work. So, win-win. Now, this is entirely optional. If you want to skip it and go right to the game, that's cool. I think there's a lot of cool lore here, though, so maybe you want to check this out. Now, this comes in two sections. The first is a fourth wall-breaking series of messages from a wizard called Klavis Verge. I don't think he ever appears in the game, but he appears in the manual. And the second is a series of 5 letters by the king Roland Ironfist, who's in the game as a character, and it sets up a lot of why the world is how it is. I should also mention that Might and Magic 6 fits into the wider timeline of New World Computing Might and Magic games. It chronologically takes place after Heroes of Might and Magic 1 and 2, but before everything else that comes after. So there will be some references to stuff that happened during Heroes of Might and Magic 2, and I'll address that as they come along. Okay, let's go and see what Klavis Verge has to say. Klavis Verge. Discouraging the unworthy.
Enjoying your world, are you? It must be nice, being so secure in where you are, what you do, and who you know. Most everyone around you is much the same, I'd imagine. And you're all such a herd of sheep. Slow and simple, and when the knife comes from behind to catch your throat, all you'll have time to do is squeak, "Bah!" Or maybe you're different. Maybe you've got the fortitude to see beyond the safe illusion. Or maybe you're just a fool, rushing in where pagan deities fare to romp. Either way, we need your skills. And your heart. I am the Ur-Mage Klavis Verge. No doubt you've heard of me. Eh? What? Well, no matter. You're ignorant to a lot of the truths of this universe. I'm here to educate you. To open your eyes. Accept this. Your world is not your own. At best, it's a window on a reality of might and magic. And wrath. A new world to you, perhaps. But a land of long tradition, now facing a harrowing danger. If it collapses beneath the horrors now threatening to overrun it, your world will most assuredly be destroyed. Shattered all the way down to its foundations. Survival of both worlds, your own and Enroth, depend on your actions. No pressure, though. You have the tools before you. You call them by strange names, computer and keyboard. They're no different than the crystals and cast runes I've worked with for centuries. Using them, you can work my kind of magic, reaching through that window to draw together a party of adventurers and guide them to victory. There's no reason not to, except fear. Decide now your course of action. Will it be cowardice? They're holding a place for you back in the pen with the rest of the sheep. Or will it be courage?
King Roland is missing.
Panic! It's gnawing at everything, everyone, everywhere. Some say doomsday is coming to call, that it's been foretold in the stars. There's no shortage of men and women buying into that, cowering under the night sky. More troubling still are the ones looking to those demon stars for twisted guidance. A new cult is formed, the Temple of Ba, with a taste for fear and uncertainty, and a hunger for the end of the world. Their terrible desire has set them to sowing seeds of disaster across the land. It's fertile soil for the doomsday cult's dread. King Roland is missing. Prince Nikolai is too young to manage the realm, and Queen Catherine is away in Arathia attending to the funeral of her father. A council of noblemen runs the show, but there's nothing noble in the spiteful infighting between the lords and the lackey councilmen. While they snipe at each other for personal gain, the Temple of Ba grows more deadly. I fear the noblemen are positioning themselves to replace King Roland's reign with a dark theocracy. Worse, I am tempted to believe the rumor that one of the council members may himself be a high priest of the Temple of Ba. You'll have plenty of opportunity to determine that for yourself, because the council is essential to your journey through Enroth. They hold the keys to the mighty oracle, and they'll only agree to let you in if you meet their self-serving needs. They'll want to set tasks for the adventurers in your party, quests that may distract you from uncovering the evil that gnaws at the land. If you fail, our worlds die. Never forget that. But if you succeed, the adventurers you guide will gain experience and skill, and they may yet be the ones to restore the Mandate of Heaven.
The Mandate of Heaven.
What's this mandate exactly? If you have to ask, you may never understand. Some call it the moral order of the universe, the opposite of the cold terror breeding up there in those abhorrent stars. To do what is right, instead of what is to your own advantage. Sounds simple, doesn't it? And yet, why do so many rulers resort to force in place of leadership? If a king embraces the moral order and follows it, then he is worthy to rule. If not, he has no business, no right to sit on the throne, for he's lost the Mandate of Heaven. The Temple of Ba schemes to destroy for all time that pact between the gods above and the earthly rulers of this land. Their doomsday stock and trade, monstrosities and disaster, conspire to convince the people that King Roland Ironfist has lost the very same mandate they wish to obliterate. The temple followers whisper that rebellion is the only way to reclaim the favor of the gods. And rebellion will place the friendly neighborhood doomsday cult in power, naturally. The Oracle understands this better than anyone. For centuries, she has been the link that carries the gods' mandate. Find her, and she may help you stop the destruction of the precious order and replace the damage already done. Fail, and learn to love chaos.
Okay, next is going to be the series of letters from Roland Ironfist to his wife, Catherine Ironfist.
July 28th, 1152. My beloved Catherine, it is my sincere hope that this letter will lay to rest the fears you have expressed for my safety and that of my men. As you must understand, this trip cannot be avoided. Both the Kilburn investigation and the Blackshire appointment require my personal attention, and I haven't visited the Northwest in ages. It troubles me that you should fret over my welfare during my absence, however short it will be. So please, dear, accept my promise that I will return by September without mishap. After all, what could go wrong? I have 500 armed men in my expedition, all of them veterans of the Archibald campaign. I'm a popular king traveling in lands no one disputes is mine, and we have heard of no news of rebellion or unrest. Many people flock to watch us pass through their hamlets and villages, eager to get an admiring glimpse of the king and his men. Nothing stands in our way, and no dangers beset us. Even the monsters are scarce. We've seen but a handful of goblins and ogres, and not even one dragon. The only trouble we've had was a freak snowstorm that struck as we entered the village of Rockham. Even that, peculiar as it was of little consequence, and the villagers put us up all night in their houses and barns. Of the devils that some say plague the towns in the northwest, we have only rumors. We have not yet encountered a soul who claims to have seen one himself, nor anyone who has found the bodies of Lord Kilburn and his rangers. The only devils we have seen are these huge mosquitoes that love the swamplands so much. Wretched pests! My place in history would be assured if I could only think of a way to rid the world of such nuisances. Now, Catherine, Lord Kilburn was probably slain by something much more mundane than devils. Perhaps a pair of dragons, or a large band of highwaymen. Either way, we shall resolve his disappearance in short order, bringing any human culprits to justice, or slaying any monsters. I cannot have my men attacked with impunity. Now, once again, put your fears to rest, and believe me when I say that I will return come September. Tell our son Nikolai that I love him, and know that I love you with all my heart. Forever yours, Roland Ironfist. August 4th, 1152. Dear Catherine, due to the snowstorm in Rockham, of which I wrote you last week, we have reached Blackshire 1 day behind schedule. By the time you receive this letter, we shall once again be on our way, following the leads you discovered while in town. Kilburn's expedition disappeared a few days' march west of here, so we shall soon reach the site of his last stand and begin tracking the killers. Blackshire received us enthusiastically, and a few hours' consideration was all I needed to select a new town magistrate. His name is Acton Spindler, formal replacement for my previous magistrate, and old friend Aaron Hampton. I have reason to suspect that Hampton was murdered, poisoned to be specific, but there is no time for me to conduct another investigation personally. Instead, I am leaving Phineas Hogworth behind to look into the matter. Ordinarily, I would not involve myself in local criminal matters, but Hampton's death fills me with a vague unease. It is probably a much simpler matter than that, but I am nonetheless anxious to learn the results of Hogworth's inquiry. In the meantime, I am proceeding with my investigation into Kilburn's death. Yesterday evening, at the inn in Blackshire, I received a letter from a rather nervous messenger who said he was paid to bring it to me by a mysterious stranger who didn't look quite human. Pressed for a description, he could only say that the stranger was very tall and broad-shouldered. You know, big, like he barely fit into his own body, and that he wore a hat that could have concealed inhuman ears. The letter turned out to be a map showing a location near Kilburn's last known camp, with the name Kilburn circled in red ink. I smell a very obvious trap, which could of course conceal a more devious plan, but I cannot exactly see how. Or perhaps the stranger is honestly trying to help anonymously. Either way, no trap set by man or monster can overwhelm the fighting force I have with me. Caution will see us through this safely. I will of course write you when we arrive in Edenbrook. You are always in my thoughts, and I miss you dearly. Please convey our father's love to Nikolai. Love, Roland Ironfist. August 11th, 1152. Dear Catherine, I cannot honestly say that our trip to Edenbrook was uneventful. As we approached the town, we encountered a trickle of refugees fleeing Edenbrook that gradually increased to a flood. When questioned, they tell us that an army of devils had been spotted walking and hopping toward Edenbrook, a town with no wall and no standing garrison. I immediately increased our pace to reach the town before the monsters could sack it. It was well that I did, for our arrival was but hours ahead of the enemy. Exhausted and ill-prepared to fight against an unknown enemy, my men nonetheless girded for battle. I ordered archers to the hilltop overlooking the town, and infantry to hide amongst the houses near the road, with flanking cavalry out of sight around the hill. 30 men on horseback were sent ahead to lure the enemy into the trap. It worked. The devils must have lacked even rudimentary discipline or intelligence, for they immediately gave chase to my men. The horsemen raced past the archers, hiding below the crest of the hill, and passed into town with the devils hot on their heels. The bait was taken, the trap sprung. As hundreds of the most filthy, vicious, and stupid beasts ever to draw breath filled the road beneath the hill, I gave the archers the signal. Arrows rained down upon the devils from above, while the infantry sprang from their hiding places to bar the entrance to the town. Before the first shock of the two armies' clash faded, the light cavalry rode around the hill, charging into the main mass of devils with lance and sword. Then the battle began in earnest, and it was all we could do to hold our lines against the demonic horde. Though the battle was short, the tales of valor and bravery are many. Sir Ragnar rescued Chief Sorcerer Tanir from certain death when he was set upon by no less than 5 devils after his fireball spell failed. Ragnar charged into the group, swinging wildly and screaming like a barbarian. His first swing lopped one head clean off, while the next skewered an enemy through its black heart. The other 3 devils quickly overcame him, but a recovered Tanir slew all 3 with his famed Insides Out spell, in time to save Sir Ragnar. You'll be happy to hear that he is recovering nicely at the House of Healing in Edenbrook, and will be out of bed in no time. Unfortunately, many were not so lucky. Others who survived the combat itself contracted a disease our healer says was caused by the filthy condition of the devil's claws. In all, 83 men fell before the fight against these devils. Yet, we have Providence to thank that our fortuitous arrival in Edenbrook's hour of need prevented the deaths of hundreds more. The devils suffered much heavier losses, 272 dead. The survivors, much less than half thankfully, fled as one on some sort of unseen signal, and we were too exhausted to give chase. After a short rest here, we will hunt them down and finish them off. I know you will want to know that I have survived the battle unscathed. I fear that what I have just written may be disquieting, but you would never forgive me for telling you anything but the truth. I am entrusting my survivor Selman to take care of the detail of informing the families of the fallen, as I have entrusted him with so many other things, including the delivery of these letters to you. He will handle the matter with tact, and can be relied on to select the speediest messengers for my letters. Eternally, Roland Ironfist. P.S. I will send another letter after we have caught up to that demonic army and dispatched it. You and Nikolai should hear from me in about a week. August 18th, 1152. Dear Catherine, before the sun rose over the Battle of Edenbrook, we departed to give chase to the monsters. Clouds streamed over our heads, very like the ones that delayed us in Rockham, threatening more summer snow. Dauntless, my men pressed on, driven by the desire to avenge their fallen comrades, and send these foul demons back to the hell whence they came. The devils seemed tireless at first, stopping only for water and fleeing like darkness before the sunrise. We chased them for days, even though they seemed to be outdistancing us mile after mile. Our forced marches and short rests made the hot summer days nightmarish and confusing. Several of my men were felled by the heat and strain, and we had to send a small contingent of sick men back to Edenbrook, lest they die from the stress of the march. On the 5th day, we reached the bitter, barren land of Pleasant Valley. If the demons did not turn from the path soon, we would chase them into the sea. Since we simply could not catch them at their tireless pace, I took a gamble and traveled northwest until we reached the old trade road that snaked along the western coast, hoping that when the enemy reached the sea, they would lack any real plan and would follow the road. Again, the enemy proved mindlessly predictable, and again, I was able to lay an ambush that proved decisive. With a full day's rest at the narrow pass I had chosen, my men were able to contrive a vicious ambush that would have turned Archibald green with envy. When fully half of the enemy had filed into the pass, we attacked, rolling boulders down the cliff face and showering them with arrows. The avalanche we caused blocked the road, splitting the demonic army in half. We concentrated on the part of the army that had yet to travel through the pass, and thus lacked leadership from the front. In minutes, we had decimated that portion without a single loss on our side. The remaining army of devils immediately fled north, chased by our arrows and curses. Considering the small number of devils remaining, 45 or so, and the difficulty in chasing them any further, I declared the mission a success, and we spent the night celebrating our victory. The celebration, I fear, was premature. As the night hours wore on, my outriders began to return from their scouting details, with reports of an army of devils, numbering in the thousands, traveling out of the Badlands in our direction. I was forced to order a retreat, hunter and hunted, reversing roles. Catherine, I write this letter to you during one of our infrequent and brief rest stops. Our pursuers are faster than us and do not tire as easily. My scouts and seers report that the demons have followed our trail despite all our efforts to shake them. And these horrible summer snowstorms seem to pursue us as relentlessly as the devils themselves. I fear that there is a traitor amongst us, somehow signaling the enemy of our every move. My dear, I want you to give this letter to Wilbur Humphrey. He is to organize an army large enough to put these devils down, say 25,000 men, and do it immediately. I also want you to call upon Ruckland, the king of the dwarves, and inform him of the situation. He'll come. This danger affects both our kingdoms, and he owes me a favor since I came to his aid during the succession wars against my evil brother Archibald. In the meantime, we will flee east again to seek a fortified location that can hold off the demonic army until help can arrive. I am not going to reveal the location until we arrive there, for fear these messengers will be intercepted by the enemy. I am having Selman dispatch our fastest messenger with this message. May you get this soon, and act on it sooner. I am counting on you, and thinking of you and Nikolai all the time. Roland Ironfist. August 23rd, 1152. My beloved, we reached Castle Creekspire a day ahead of the enemy, and have fortified our position in anticipation of attack. This is the last message you will receive from me until we are liberated by the army you and Humphrey are preparing. I thank the gods that I have reserved this particular castle as a future reward for some loyal knight or nobleman. It has been long unused since the succession wars, having formerly belonged to a supporter of my brother. Provisions here are meager. We are counting on resupply from either Rockland or you, as we can only hold out for 2 weeks with the available rations. The forces we have here are barely adequate for a defense, but we should be able to last until your reinforcements arrive. Hurry! We have spent some time exploring the castle, finding many secret passages and surprises. Perhaps we may even find an escape tunnel. If the wall is breached, the traps, pits, and secret ways will serve us well. I hope it never comes to that, but it is best to be prepared. I will be much relieved if the treacherous necromancer who used to own this castle was paranoid enough to have dug an escape tunnel. Solomon has been a great help during this entire misadventure, and he has promised to look into the cause of the snowstorms. He is, after all, a master of air, to see if they are divinely sent. Another has already formed over our castle, and is even now covering us with snow and misery. Devils seem to operate better in cold weather. Anyway, this siege will give Solomon plenty of time to look into the causes. Perhaps the traitor that is surely amongst our ranks is also the cause of the storms. Fear of such a traitor has me sleeping poorly at night. What would a man have to gain from such treachery? A high post in the devil hierarchy? I would like to see that. Wealth? Do devils even have wealth? What could it be? If there is such a traitor, I shall catch him and have him publicly strung up and tortured. To think that he is probably hiding under my very nose makes me sick unto death. There is nothing worse than a traitor. Even Archibald would agree. Well, no use complaining. He will show himself soon enough, I am sure. I must go and finish preparations for the siege. Know that if I never see you again, I love you, and I love Nikolai. And if you love me half as much, move as fast as you can to send reinforcements to our rescue. Pray for us. Roland Ironfist. P.S. If I should fail to return, tell Nikolai that the third eye is in the well. He'll understand when the time is right. It is his birthright, and he will need it if he is ever to be king.
Okay, next time we're gonna start a new game and create our party. Should be fun. See ya.